Hello. Okay guys, I want to go through and break down the exercise of wall balls. The exercise? What, the wall ball exercise. So basically, something I see a lot with people doing this exercise in classes, in their training, is that they're missing a certain element of it, or something's lacking that could be making that exercise a lot easier for them. Because the exercise involves quite a lot of different elements, if we scale it back and break it down, there's so many different ways that you can work on the wall ball without just continuously doing wall balls. So this exercise is obviously at the end of a Hyrox race. You're going to be fatigued, but also you have 100 to do, 50 to 100 if you're doing pairs. It's endurance. So in your head you might think, okay, I just need to do loads and loads and loads of wall balls, but that's not the case. So in your training, first of all, you need to break down the exercise. And I don't mean just replacing wall balls with squat thrusters, because it looks similar, but you're using weights. Yes, they have their place, but there are so many different exercises that you can be doing to get stronger in your wall balls and make them easier at the end of your race. First things first, if we look at the actual exercise of the wall ball, you have to be able to squat parallel or beyond, or you'll get a no rep. And then you also have to be able to throw the weight, whether it's 4 kg or 6 kg or 9 kg, at the target, and continuously be able to hit the target high enough and receive it and get that kind of flow going. There's a few things that we need to think about there. Can you squat to parallel or beyond, first of all? Can you keep upright enough to be able to hold the ball in front? And do you have just the actual coordination and the breathing and stuff involved in getting a flow with that exercise? So if we actually look, let me clip you on. If we look at the actual exercise first, let me get rid of this. So if we look at the actual exercise first and think about it, you're going to be holding the ball here. So where do we hold the actual ball? At the sides, but slightly under. So that way you're going to be able to receive it and have a good position to then press off and extend the arms. You are going into a squat, so you want to be making sure that you are coming out of the squat with enough power to then extend the arms. One of the biggest parts of that is going to be your breathing. So you want to make sure that you're breathing properly, and that is going to involve some core engagement and actually tension through the body in the right places. So you find your squat stance first of all, because everyone's going to be different. You find your distance against or away from the target that works for you based on your throw and your squat, and then you just try and find your rhythm from there. So if we think about it, squat distance for me, get the position right, I'm going to try and get into my squat, deep breath in, I'm going to extend, so a few things. So what I'm looking for myself there when I'm doing them is the ball hitting the target, or is it just kind of slightly away from it? That's going to gauge, am I too far away from it? And also my position of my hands on the actual ball. So that's going to help me to adjust if I'm okay, my hands are maybe too wide at the sides, I need to bring them towards the back a little bit so that I have that throw so it can actually hit the target. And then the distance that you're away from the actual target as well is obviously going to come into account. So that's just things that you work on technique wise. For the actual exercise and the endurance and the strength and the power that you need, we break it down from there. So you are doing wall balls, you're going to be holding the ball here. First of all, that is a lot of work for your shoulders. So your delts are going to be working hard here to keep that position. So in your training, that alone can be something that you work on. So if you are, let's say, doing squats, front squats will be a good option with the barbell, or just a heavy goblet squat, so a heavy dumbbell or kettlebell, and holding that there as you work on your squats. So doing a strength variation of squats, so just going for a heavy weight, but maybe less reps. So you're not focusing on 20, 30, 40 reps like you would be in wall balls. Then you have the actual depth of the squat. So that's probably one of the first things you want to look at. Is can I actually get into a parallel or beyond squat to do these? Because if you can't, you probably want to start there. Now, it can be a few things. It can be just mechanical in that maybe you're restricted around the hip joint or the ankle joint, and that's what's kind of holding you back. So you might want to do some hip mobility, whether that be ankle mobility first, let's say, whether that be kind of your standard knees to wall, bringing your foot back, trying to find that range, increase that range, keeping your heel flat. Hip mobility by, you know, holding on to something and focusing on some hip cars and doing some rotations. So these are called cars and backwards. Those two exercises alone can be enough to try and see, is it actually something at the hips or the ankles that is holding you back? But let's say you just can't get into a parallel squat. What you can do then is introduce something to sit onto or squat onto. Now, let's just say this is lower than it is. So let's just say something that's going to get you to parallel or beyond. If you have a really, really poor depth of a squat, like let's say you're only able to squat here, yes, definitely I would look at your hips and your ankles first, but I would also start with a higher bench or box for you to squat onto. You just want to feel it and then back up. So you want all the tension through your feet, your heels, your toes, and you want to ideally be, let's say, combine 2 and 1 here and hold on to a weight. So you could be doing goblet squat whilst trying to improve your actual squat depth as well. So that's 2 things. Actual strength focus on squats, adding something here, whether it be kettlebell, dumbbell, barbell, so that you get that kind of isometric load through just holding something for a long period. The strength version of sitting into a squat, and then the actual depth of sitting back onto something and slowly lowering that height as well. Then you have the shoulders. So you're actually going to be, you're basically doing a load of shoulder presses, not quite overhead. So you want the endurance for that, yes. So yes, loads of shoulder press, but again, you want the strength there first. So you want to be doing heavy shoulder press, whether that's dumbbells, whether it's barbells, whether it's a machine, whatever. Focus on getting really strong in your shoulder press, and then you can add in endurance. So then you can do things like maybe a drop set where you really drop the weight light and you do higher reps in shoulder press. Again, whether it's machine, whether it's barbell, dumbbells. Then you can do the things like squat thrusters and obviously wall balls themselves. I would consider those together. But when it comes to actually like strengthening the shoulders and strengthening the legs, you need a strength component there. And that's why people who are skipping strength sessions when it comes to Hyrox and just doing loads of classes and conditioning and like high rep stuff, you're probably going to struggle a little bit. So don't leave out your strength. Focus on your shoulders, focus on your legs individually, focus on them together through squat thrusters and actual wall balls, focus on your mobility, focus on your depth, focus on your power. So what you can do as well is add in, let's say, squat jumps, holding 2 dumbbells either side, going into a squat and then powering up into a squat jump and land. I've hurt my ankle so I can't show you. Adding in that power element for like low enough reps. So think about it like plyometrics. So let's just say you're just going to do 6 reps and you're going to have loads of rest between them because you want that like real powerful movement through the squat jumps. So that's something that you could start your session with. Then you could go into heavy squats. Then you could go into endurance when you're tired at the end, and you can kind of build it like that. Because when you're coming up out of a squat in the wall balls, you need that power coming from your legs to then translate the power into the throw. So it's really important that you have the strength, you have the power, and then you have the endurance for the actual exercise to go as best as it can for you, and not just focus on constantly doing loads and loads of wall balls. Of course, as you have focused on all of those, then another thing then would be to do the wall balls but with a heavier weight than you're actually going to be doing in your race. That stands to sense as well. Hopefully this is useful. Feel free to save it, send it to someone that's maybe struggling with their wall balls, and I'll be back with another exercise to break it down and explain how you can improve it.